30s and low 40s. I'm Cairo 7 Pinpoint meteorologist Tiffany Sanders.
It is 49 degrees in downtown Seattle. I'm Ursula Royteen.
Download our app to listen on your smartphone. Cairo Radio 97.3 FM. News and talk. Powered by the Pacific Northwest.
The Big Lead is brought to you by 3010 Weight Loss for Life.
The Dory Monson Show on Cairo Radio. This is The Big Lead.
Coming to you from the Carter Subaru studio and also streaming on Facebook Live this segment. Welcome to our top stories this hour. So, a couple of hours ago, Ursula had the story that you just heard again. Two children, 16 and 17 years old, have been charged with murder now for the killing in the jungle.
No, they've been convicted.
Convicted. Yeah,
and they're now adults.
Okay, convicted as adults. And their little brother is convicted and is going to be in jail till he's 20. But they were convicted as adults. And what I pointed out a couple of hours ago is in these homeless encampments, there is rampant crime, bicycle chop shops, assaults, the rape of children. And that was very well chronicled, where a heroin addict was turning out 13-year-old girl for sex and pimping her out so that he could get his next heroin fix. Murders occur. And as I said, Kshama Sawant and other members of the Seattle City Council do not want any sweeps of the encampments. They want, and I want you to think about this. What was your life like when you were 13 years old? My life wasn't magical. It also wasn't horrible. I wasn't getting abused. I had a mom who loved me. I was going to school. I was starting to develop some hopes and dreams professionally. I was working. I was working 20 hours a week, starting when I was 12 years old. And I was starting to build a life. I want you to think about a 13-year-old child in the jungle. A runaway girl. No doubt because, like most runaways, she's probably come from an abusive situation at home. And oftentimes, children who are abused, they try to find some escape in drugs. And that often escalates into heroin. And they're runaways. They're street addicts. And they end up on a tarp under a freeway overpass in downtown Seattle. They're laying out there on these cold winter nights. They're sleeping on mud. And then some monster with no teeth tells her that he just bought her for sex. That's the life of some of these kids in these homeless encampments. And then there are people who are getting murdered, as you just heard. And we got people like Sawant who say we shouldn't sweep these camps. But if you painted a little bit of a mental picture of what I was just describing, that is hell. I don't imagine that hell could be much worse than sleeping in partially frozen mud and being used by your pimp and by toothless addicts for sex when you're just a 13-year-old child. And Sawant says we should let them be. And I get very passionate about this subject because what we should do for these children, for these young adults, for these older adults, we can't let them just continue to live in hell on earth. If they won't take all the services that we offer, and we should offer everything to them, if they won't take them, we should lock them up. or move them along. But to say that we should allow children to be raped in the mud and that we should have a hands-off approach, as Kshama Sawant, I mean, there's just a level, if what I've described is hell, then we have some people in politics who are the stewards of our hell around here. And I mentioned this, maybe not quite as detailed or graphically, a couple of hours ago. And some apologist for the city allowing this to happen from the 206 texted in, do you really think our local politicians support child rape? Do you think the rate of child rape will decrease if the encampments were removed? Yes, I do think they support child rape. And yes, I think child rape will decrease if these encampments are removed. If we take a little girl and we put her someplace safe, and we're not laying her in the mud with a bunch of heroin addicts, do I think the chances of her being raped will decrease? Yeah. How stupid is that question even? Do I really think local politicians support child rape? They know it happens in the jungle and elsewhere. They know that children are the coin of the realm for some of these pimp heroin addicts. And they say we should be hands off. We shouldn't send out teams to offer services. So are they supporting child rape? Of course they are. And then the unasked question, do I really believe that some local politicians are that evil? Yes, I do. And that also leads me into our big lead.
The big lead. Your tax dollars at work.
This is just unbelievable to me. And I'll give credit to the C is for Crank blog, because she obtained some information about All Home King County is kind of the umbrella agency for homelessness services. And they, of course, have to do an annual meeting because they take in a lot of money. I mean, Seattle and King County spend over $100 million a year on homelessness. And so if you are stewards of that much money, you have to have annual meetings. So what kind of stuff do they do at their annual meeting? Well, according to the C is for Crank blog, they brought in a drag queen to swing boobs with only pasties on the nipples in the face of some of the attendees there. And in the video, you see men sitting in chairs, holding up $1 and $5 bills. And you see this drag queen take off its top and swinging these big boobs in the face of these men who are handing them dollars or fives. Here's a little bit of what it sounded like. Yeah, they're gonna sex you up for homelessness here in King County. So what bothers me personally, on a personal level, is in the last 2 weeks, my wife and I were organizing our end-of-the-year giving, philanthropy. And one of the more significant gifts that we gave, and it doesn't matter how much, but we gave a gift to a group that works with the homeless. And that group was present at this event. Some of the groups that were there: Neighborhood House, Mary's Place, Catholic Community Services, other religiously affiliated organizations. And so King County decides to bring in a drag queen from Spokane, Beyonce St. James, who, according to the CSforCrank.com, reportedly danced on tables, gave lap dances, stripped down to a pair of silver pasties as people threw dollar bills. Some people said that it was too sexual and forced people to participate in a sexualized performance without prior consent. The supporters of this said it was fun, fabulous, and a rare opportunity for queer people of color to perform. For homelessness. You wonder why I call it the homeless industrial complex? When I give money, whether it's through my taxes or through a check that we write, when I give my money, I want it to help that 13-year-old girl who's sleeping in the mud. I don't necessarily want it to pay for the importing of a drag queen from Spokane to shake breasts in the face of the people who work for the homeless industrial complex. And when I see this, it makes me never want to give another penny to the homelessness issue around here because of the snakes, because of the evil that engulfs our money. We're spending $100 million a year, and the problem gets dramatically worse every single year. We need a reset. And I've told you a million times, we could spend a fraction of what we're spending now. You build housing for people who test clean. You provide services for people to get clean. You provide whatever mental health services are necessary for those who are addled in the brain and in the soul. And to everybody else, you got to move along. And if you won't move along, we'll find plenty of jail space for you. But we got to stop the raping of 13-year-old girls. We got to stop drag queens, our money that we thought was going to help some poor heroin addict try to get clean. Instead, we're paying so a drag queen can shake gigantic boobs in the face of a smiling guy holding up a dollar bill like he's sitting in a strip club somewhere. That's our homelessness industrial complex these days. Will anybody be fired? It's government. Come on. We wrote to, Nicole reached out to the Chief of Staff for King County Department of Community and Human Services, Denise Rothleutner. She responded after we went on the air this afternoon. She said, the department is aware of an event that occurred during the All Home Annual Conference on December 9th, 2019. We have placed the director of All Home on administrative leave pending the results of an investigation into the event and the leadership of All Home. Because there is an active investigation underway, we are unable to respond to specific questions about the event. I'm sick of that cop-out, too, from all these government cowards. They're our employees. We pay their salary. I got the most listened to radio show. I got an audience that deserves answers. An audience that, through their tax dollars, has funded a ridiculous amount for homelessness. A lot of which goes to six-figure jobs to people who aren't helping the problem. In fact, we're watching it get much worse. A lot of us give privately to private organizations that were at this event. And this nonsense about we cannot comment while an active investigation. Why? Why can't you comment? Why can't you tell us how in the world, what the process was that made you think bringing a drag queen wearing nothing but a couple of tiny little silver dollar pasties, shaking them in the face. And by the way, the guys who are holding up the dollar bills, What a bunch of disgusting pigs they are. Is that any better if you're a married man than going to Deja Vu or Rick's? I mean, I'd like to know, how do the spouses of these pigs who work in the homelessness industrial complex, have your wives seen the video? Have they seen you hooting and hollering while a guy with gigantic boobs is shaking them in your face and you're slipping $1 to the person? Oh, but it's like the heroin injection centers that are coming. All of this is under the watchful eye of government. So there can't be anything wrong with that. Nothing. Government says it's okay. And then one other point that I made a couple of hours ago. Adults who want to go to drag shows couldn't care less. If that's your form of entertainment, I don't care. But what is government's obsession with making you and me pay for drag queen story time at the King County Library and beyond? What is government's obsession with taking money that could help mentally ill or heroin addicts or sex-abused children sleeping in the mud in Seattle, and you decide, no, the money will be better spent on bringing in a drag queen so that our employee, and they were having so much fun, too. I want you to listen to this. Listen, this is your homelessness community. The people who are supposed to help. The people who are supposed to solve the problem. This is your community. This is your tax dollars at work. These are the people that you hear in the background of this audio that we are paying for, either through our taxes or through our charitable donations, to try to save lives of the homeless. Does this sound like a group that's a real crackerjack group of problem solvers? Wow. There's your homelessness industrial complex in Seattle and King County, right there. I don't know, the person who's been suspended, they're on a paid vacation. They're getting an extra Christmas break. Who knows if they'll be fired. But if this is the kind of thinking that is the stewards of $100 million a year in Seattle and King County, is it any wonder that the problem has gotten dramatically worse? Do you wonder why you see tarps and tents everywhere? Why we are spending as much per capita as any region in the United States, only to see the number of homelessness increasing? Here's why. Right there. Good job to Erica Barnett, the C is for Crank blog, who broke that story. That is your big lead for today.
The Big Lead on Cairo Radio.
Ursula's going to check the news, and then, where we usually do awesome audio, we'll continue with Monson Madness. Count down our favorite sound bites of 2019, because we need your votes coming up.
This hour of the Dory Monson Show is brought